Hello, welcome to GP Podcast. If you look around you right now, chances are you're just feet away from a tiny, unassuming object that basically holds our entire modern world in its grasp. It powers our phones, our laptops, even our cars. And really, on the surface, it looks deceptively simple. Inside, it's really a little more than a roll of foil coated in some paste. And yet, this one small cylinder holds the key to our entire digital lives. But here's the thing. Contained within that simple roll is an immense power that, when it's unleashed, can be absolutely terrifying. So how on earth did this humble object become one of the most revolutionary and quietly dangerous inventions of our time? Well, to really get it, we have to go back to a world that was kind of running on empty. See, before the lithium-ion battery came along, the digital revolution was just completely stuck in neutral. It was held back by this one fundamental problem: power. Just take the very first commercial mobile phone from 1983. It was a brick. It needed 10 hours of charging just to give you 30 minutes of talk time. Think about that. Laptops, cameras, medical devices, everything was limited by these bulky, horribly inefficient batteries. The world was just desperate for a breakthrough. And the push actually came from a pretty unlikely place. The 1970s oil crisis had even the oil giants, like Exxon, scrambling for alternatives. So they tasked this young chemist, Stanley Whittingham, to work on a little side project, building a better battery. Well, that side project was about to become a very top priority. Okay, so to understand Whittingham's big breakthrough, we first need a super quick primer on how any battery works. It's really just a tiny, contained chemical reaction with three key parts. First, you've got the anode. Just think of it as the generous side, the negative terminal that's giving away its electrons to create a current. And on the other side, opposite that, is the cathode, the positive terminal. It's hungry for electrons, and it pulls that current through your device to make it work. And then connecting them is the electrolyte. This is a substance that lets positive ions travel between the two sides, which balances the charge and keeps those electrons flowing. Without it, the whole reaction just stops almost instantly. Now, this brings us to the core problem everyone was facing. For decades, batteries used an electrolyte that was water-based. And if you tried to push more than 1.23 volts through it, the water would literally just break down into hydrogen and oxygen. That was it. It was a hard physical limit on power. Stanley Whittingham's genius was to just sidestep this problem completely. He decided to use the lightest, most energetic metal on the entire periodic table: lithium. And crucially, he paired it with an organic, non-water-based electrolyte. When he pitched the idea to his managers at Exxon, they saw the potential immediately. And the result was just astonishing. Whittingham's prototype didn't just break the 1.23 volt barrier, it completely shattered it, delivering nearly double the voltage. It was this massive leap forward, but this raw power came at a very steep price. The problem was the anode. Using pure metallic lithium was just wildly unstable. With every single recharge, tiny needle-like whiskers called dendrites would start to grow. And eventually, these sharp little dendrites would pierce the separator, connect the anode directly to the cathode, and cause a violent short circuit. The lab's firefighters were apparently called so often, they threatened to start charging Exxon for their services. So, Whittingham had unleashed the power of lithium, but it was just too wild to control. It would take two more brilliant minds to finally tame the beast. First up was John B. Goodenough at Oxford University. He figured that Whittingham's cathode was the real weak link. So he swapped it for a material called lithium cobalt oxide. And the result? The voltage jumped again, this time to a massive 4 volts. And even better, his new cathode already had lithium baked into its structure, which meant maybe you wouldn't need that dangerous pure lithium anode at all. But if you don't use pure lithium for the anode, what do you use instead? Well, the final piece of the puzzle came from Akira Yoshino in Japan. He discovered that a specific type of carbon could basically act like a sponge, safely absorbing and then releasing lithium ions without forming those dangerous dendrites. And the proof was, well, it was dramatic. When Yoshino's team deliberately crushed a cell with the old metallic lithium anode, boom, it exploded. Then they did the exact same test with his new carbon anode design, and nothing happened. It was stable. That right there, that was the moment the modern, safe lithium-ion battery was truly born. So now they had it, a design that was powerful, rechargeable, and finally safe.
The technology was ready to leave the lab and, well, change everything.
Sony was the first company to really see the potential. In 1991, they launched their new Handycam camcorder, and they advertised its revolutionary power source as a key feature. Pretty soon, these batteries were in absolutely everything: phones, laptops, power tools, you name it. But there's this hidden magic trick that makes these batteries last for years. During the very first charge cycle, a tiny bit of the lithium forms a protective shield on the anode, called the SEI layer. This microscopic layer stops all these destructive side reactions, but it's smart enough to still let the useful lithium ions pass right through. It's a small sacrifice of the initial capacity for incredible long-term stability. But even with all these amazing safety features, the immense energy that's packed into such a small space means the danger is never completely gone. The beast was only tamed, not vanquished. When a battery fails catastrophically, it's a terrifying thing called thermal runaway. If it overheats, that protective SEI layer breaks down. As the temperature keeps climbing, the plastic separator melts, causing a massive internal short. And then the cathode itself starts to decompose, releasing pure oxygen, which feeds an internal fire. A fire that you can't easily put out because it brings its own fuel and its own oxygen to the party. And while failures are rare on a per-device basis, we're talking about 1 in a million, we're surrounded by billions and billions of these batteries, so that means these failures happen constantly. As this quote reveals, a battery fire on an airplane is a weekly occurrence. Just think about that. So we've come an incredibly long way, right? From a 30-minute phone call to cars that can drive hundreds of miles on a single charge. But the journey, it isn't over. Not by a long shot. We still face some huge challenges. We've got to figure out how to source materials ethically, how to make these batteries even safer as they get bigger and bigger. We have to bring the cost way down for grid-scale storage, and we're constantly pushing the absolute limits of chemistry to pack even more power into an even smaller space. The hunt is on for the next great battery. I mean, the lithium-ion battery gave us this portable, connected world that we now totally take for granted. The real question is, what new world will its successor make possible? If you liked this explainer, subscribe, leave a like, comment on what you liked most, and share it. Thanks for watching.